It's 9/11. We have to start off this quick video just remembering, what happened and the lives that were changed forever by that tragedy that happened off in New York, Pennsylvania, Pentagon. Frankly, all of our lives have never been the same. As someone who traveled for a living, I remember vividly traveling pre and post 9/11. I remember the first plane ride after. Um, I remember where I was when I heard what was going on. I remember the call to service, the respect for all the military men and women who went off to serve our country for, the greater mission. And it's been 18 years, and it's time does, right? So take a moment if you can today, give your family a hug, call someone you haven't called in a while. Um, just do what you can to make today a great day. So on that note, right, with the day doesn't stop, we still got to talk about what's going on in the business world. So things that I caught this morning, looks like the press is starting to get positive, if you will, on I don't know, positive and negative. Is that possible on real estate? And what I meant by that is the spin I saw on the weekly mortgage apps rising, roughly 2%, and most of that was actually the rise in purchases, not refinances. So that was pretty interesting. But basically, the twist, the spin, if you will, is they're saying the buyer's market takes hold. So, right, is that positive or is that negative, right? What are they trying to say? Well, I think what they're saying is inventory is rising, price reductions are rising, and yes, lower interest rates are causing people to write offers. It's interesting. I think the summer months are going to go down as slower than expected. The high end of the market is just not going anywhere. So it's going to be interesting to see where this goes forward. And again, this is all about consumer optimism, in my opinion. If consumers remain bullish or happy or whatever you want to call it, it is real estate and the market in general will continue to rise, given we are a consumer-based economy. If it flips and people start to think real estate's a falling knife, and they just I'll wait for a better deal next month, the month after, it could build on itself. A friend of mine just sent me a text earlier saying, follow the trend but don't predict. I thought that was pretty cool. Shout out Dan if you ever watched this. That was pretty clever. Moving on, something else I saw, there seems to be some chatter out there about the U.S. should have zero or even, heaven forbid, negative interest rates. I'm left asking myself, well, what would that mean, right? It would hurt savers, right? Because if you have zero interest rate, there's basically no reason to save, right? You're not earning any interest on your money, and heaven forbid it goes negative. I also wonder what it would mean for what one would hope is the strongest economy in the world to take interest rates to zero. I think there should always be a premium on the best, right? And I think if you want to invest, if you want to take your dollars, us or the world wants to take their dollars and invest in the best, I don't think that else. So if Europe is going to zero interest rates and some parts of Asia are as well, I don't think that means the U.S. should, right? I think we're a stronger, more diverse economy, and going to zero, I don't know, I guess might feel good in the short term, but I'm not really sure what that says going forward. So I just thought it was an interesting talk. iPhones announcement yesterday. We've talked about it. This will be a huge indicator for me when they come out to see if they can really move whatever it is, 30 million units, something of that nature. But something I read in their press release, actually it may have not been theirs, it may have been someone else's, but if you think iPhones are expensive in the US, did you know there's a premium in China? I had no idea. Apparently there's a premium of 10% on the low end and up to 23% on the higher end models. I'm not sure why. Don't really care. I just thought, wow, I thought iPhones were expensive here, and if they're higher in China where the average income is lower, I mean, whew, that's expensive. And then the last thing, Actually coming out of the market is Peloton. If you don't know who they are, they're essentially a creator of exercise equipment that allows you to have a screen and compete with others online, and it takes you over various courses. Pretty cool technology. I've used them at some gyms, but they're looking to raise $1 billion with a B in the IPO market. I think it's interesting. I think we're going to find out what the appetite is because Peloton is not cheap, right? The equipment and the service and all of that. So definitely on the higher end of the consumer. And if we continually see the high end of the market kind of retreat, it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. I have no doubt they're going to raise whatever they're going to raise in the IPO market. But then going public, we're going to start to see their numbers every 90 days. And Peloton will become a signal for me about how the high end consumer is doing. So it's interesting. And then the last thing, I was an article on CNBC caught my attention. I forget the actual title now, but it was something like what you should teach your kids, or what's the number one skill you should teach your kids. And this someone who has a stepdaughter, I was interested, so I clicked it. Right, clickbait, I guess they call that. So they're saying that the number one trait you should teach your kids is to be indistractable. I didn't even know that was a word. Indistractable. Basically, it means is we're not going to be distracted by others and the likes and comments and all of that stuff. Frankly, I think we all could be better served, myself included, being more indistractable. I think that's an interesting word. So in the end, um, again, take a moment, hug your family, call a friend, make today a good day, and let's all be a little bit less indistractable today. All right, take care. Thanks.